Welcome back to the Everygirl podcast and get ready because this week is all about stepping into our rich girl era in 2026. I hope you absolutely loved Tuesday's episode as much as I did. Tori is just the best. She has the best money advice. And today I'm going to share with you 6 of my money habits that I have come to really love and use often and make a big difference in my life. I like to call this my rich girl playbook. I'm really trying to enter my rich girl era. And before your brain jumps to trust funds and Chanel bags, although we are not mad at either of those things, let's talk about how I define rich girl energy and why this is so important, why you should listen to this episode. What I mean when I say rich girl energy is not about designer handbags. It's not about what you have, it's about how you move. It's trusting your financial decisions as deeply as you trust your intuition. It's romanticizing your spreadsheets the same way that you romanticize your morning matcha. It's not about having wealth, it's about building it, keeping it, and feeling grounded in it. Rich girl energy is like this undeniable magnetism when you don't view money as a stressor or something that you don't understand, but you see it as a tool to live your best life. I could not give you a best self challenge, which if you're new here, that is our January challenge. It's filled with episodes and activities to help you become your best self. You can find more and find the challenges at theeverygirl.com or follow along here on the podcast. But I could not do a best self challenge without having an entire week dedicated to money for a few different reasons. For one, money is the most tangible form of your life force. At its core, money is an energetic exchange, right? You give your time, your brain power, your creativity, your ideas, your physical labor, and in return, you receive money. So when you look at a paycheck, you're not just seeing some arbitrary number, you're not just seeing dollars, you're seeing hours of your life. You're seeing your energy, your essence, your literal life force in a quantifiable form. So the way that you use that money is not just a transaction, it's you deciding what's worth your energy, literally, what your energy is worth. But also, like I said, money is just a tool to live your best life. Honestly, I used to hate the topic of finance. Like, I truly believed deep down to my core that I will never be good at finances. I am someone who is not good with money. And by the way, what I come from for this episode is not a place of like, I'm a money expert, listen to me, I'm so rich. Absolutely not. What I come from is I've been there where I have no idea what's going on with my money, where I feel so out of control with my money, where I feel like I'm not good at money. And I have done a lot to change that mentality, to change my relationship with money, how rich girl energy, wealthy I feel. For me, what changed was when I understood it as a tool to live my best life. The turning point for me was realizing how important it is to feel fully empowered in my own money, to see myself as the expert of my own finances. And then, more importantly, money is a radical, rebellious topic for women. You probably already understand that if you listen to this podcast in general. We talked a lot about this on Tuesday's episode with Tori. Tori's part one back in 2023. We talked about this concept too. But let's really think about it for a second. In the US, women didn't get the legal right to open a credit card without a male cosigner until 1974. That is wildly recent, right? That's not history. That's like your mom's lifetime. We as women have had access to modern financial systems for literally one generation. So when a woman tracks her spending, when she negotiates her salary, when she opens an investment account, she's not just managing her money, she is dismantling a system that was never designed for her success. Think about how powerful that is. Money has always been a tool of control. When women don't have access to money, they are easier to control. They're easier to control in relationships, in workplaces, in society. A financially empowered woman, Tori said this on Tuesday's episode, a financially empowered woman is a woman who cannot be controlled. And, even just looking at the statistics today, the wealth gap between men and women, and especially women of color, is still insane. Women are still making 85 cents for every dollar that men earn. And it's not because women don't deserve more. Okay. I need to say this because I hate people pointing to the gender gap as a difference in value, which I really could go off on. But for the sake of time, I'll just say research across 22,000 companies found that firms with women on their boards or in executive officer roles consistently reported larger profit margins than those without female leaders. And the gender gap is not because women are worse with their money. Studies show that women actually outperform men when they invest, often because they are less reactive, more disciplined, and think long term. Interesting, by the way, how a lot of people did not vote for the female presidential candidate because they are under the extremely wrong belief that women are too emotional to lead a country. You idiots. Proof that women are more emotionally intelligent and have better emotional control is so obvious and abundant that even studies done just about investing money show that women are less reactive. And speaking of that, in Trump's America, our financial independence and general rights feel more under threat than they have been in decades. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent. I'm sorry if you press play wanting a very carefree, surface level, money tips kind of episode. And I promise we will get into that. We will get into the game changing money habits and rich girl rules. But I really want to make the point first that rich girl energy is actually rebellion. So if you are sitting there thinking, ugh, the topic of finances is so boring, like who cares about 401ks and investments? I get you. I've been there. And don't worry, this episode is not about setting up a 401k. But I want you to know that the point of all of this is not just to make more money and to have more money. Money is actually not the point, freedom is. Money on its own is just paper or numbers on a screen. It is not the end goal. It's the tool that unlocks options. The option to work on your own terms, to say yes to things that you love and no to what drains you, to take the job, the trip, the break. Money is freedom. And to me, what is really the most exciting piece of this is that when we are financially confident and grow our wealth, we are not just changing our lives, we're changing the world. Okay. The old school rich guy kind of model was to power through domination, hoarding wealth, extracting labor, climbing ladders. Patriarchal wealth is very zero sum bias. If you get a piece of pie, that means that there's less or no slice of pie for me. If that person's successful, that's success that I don't get. Or if they have money, that's less money for me. But women are showing that financial power can look radically different. It can be collaborative, ethical, values based. Women statistically reinvest more of their income into their families and communities. We fund healing, we fund creativity, we fund change. When women learn to earn, grow, and direct money, we are not just becoming rich, we are redefining what richness even means. So, today I'm going to share with you the Rich Girl Playbook that I have learned, 6 habits that I have adapted to really feel like the CEO of my own damn life. So, the first rule of the Rich Girl Playbook is to think of every dollar as your employee with a very specific job to do. So, think of it like you are the boss, your life is a company, and every dollar that comes in, whether it's from your salary, a side hustle, a raise, a bonus, a $50 check from your grandma your birthday, when you return something you bought, because I count that as making money, you assign every dollar a job because money without a job just kind of disappears. It floats around in your checking account. And then one day you wake up wondering where it all went, right? We've all been there. But when you start thinking of money as a team of employees, each one with a very specific role to move your life forward, that's a life changer. So, like, for example, let's say you get a raise. What I used to do with a raise is maybe just like let that extra money blend into lifestyle creep that just, goes into my general well of my checking account, probably disappears through random Amazon orders or dinners out. My life doesn't actually feel different at all, even though I got a raise. I'm sure many of you have been there too. But the rich girl version of you, she asks, how will I apply this extra $500 a month or whatever it is to create the biggest return in my actual life? Maybe that raise goes to paying off your debt. Maybe that additional $500 goes to future you and goes straight to your 401k or investment account. Maybe you use that raise to buy back your time and you use it to get Instacart or a monthly cleaning service to outsource chores that you hate. Maybe it goes to therapy or adding more classes to your Pilates membership. Maybe you put it directly into your fund that you're using to save up for a vacation. Maybe you decide to use the $500 one month to update your wardrobe with clothing items that you really love, and then the next month, it's a really busy social schedule. So you put that raise money towards your dining out budget. Like there's no right or wrong move. What matters is that you are deciding intentionally. You are assigning every dollar that's coming in a job that will move your life forward in some way, that will make your life feel happier or better. And this rule applies whether it's $10,000 or $20. Every single dollar is an employee that you assign a very specific job to. The second rule is something I call ask my CFO rule. Now, do I have a real human chief financial officer? No. For years, my CFO was a Google sheet. These days, it's a GPT that I named Josie's CFO. I get it. If you're anti AI, don't worry about it. I get it. But just to be honest about what I do, which I will get into more specifically later, but there are so many tools and apps and different systems and methods and money journals that will basically track your entire financial life. So that is your CFO. I call whatever system you use to track your financial life your CFO. To me, referring to my money system as my CFO is so much more like rich girl energy, like boss bitch, than calling it my budget or my spreadsheet, right? So much better. Like, it's not some boring thing that I don't wanna use and I have to do it because that's adulting. It is my CFO. It is my right-hand woman. She's wise, she's grounded, she makes great decisions. She never lets me make emotional financial moves. She has my back. So, the ask my CFO rule comes into play when you are about to make any money decision, whether that's booking a vacation, joining a membership, upgrading your apartment, whatever it is, pause and literally say to yourself, let me ask my CFO. And then either you check in with, again, whatever money system you have, just kind of like the brief overview of what bucket that purchase would go into so that you can make an intentional decision. Like maybe it's like, oh, I now see that I'm a lot further from my goal of saving money for my Italy trip. So I won't buy that top or I won't order takeout tonight because I would rather put that money toward my Italy trip. Or let's say that you want to get a nice coffee while you're out and your CFO informs you that you have a lot more money for the month allocated for eating out. So getting your little treat drink during a busy and stressful day would be a great idea to make your life a little bit better. And you can totally afford to do that. Or sometimes this is more of just like a mental check in and you just kind of know. Like, for example, I want to splurge on new headshots or something for my business. And I just think like, okay, what would my CFO say? Let me ask my CFO. And my CFO in my brain is like, I think that's a great investment. I know that you're nervous about spending money, but it's a boss money move. Like you are investing in your business and the new headshots will help move your business forward. It will get you the outcome that you want from your business. It will push you forward in your life. Or sometimes if I'm shopping and I see a dress and I'm thinking about buying it, and my CFO tells me, Josie, you are going to wear that like 2 times and then get tired of it. You just want to buy it right now for the dopamine hit. It's not actually an investment in your best life. Other times, if I'm shopping and I see a pair of pants that I love and I'm like, oh, but these are pretty expensive. Let me ask my CFO. And my CFO is like, Josie, think of how many times you're going to wear these pants, how great you're going to feel, how you're going to wear them to interviews, you're going to wear them out with friends. And it feels like you have a lot of outfits to put together. It's a great investment. Thank you, CFO. Sometimes, also, by the way, my CFO will be like, I honestly don't know if this is the best purchase for us. Let's revisit in 48 hours instead of adding to cart now. That's fine too. Like, even just having this internal check in is super helpful because it kind of separates you from the purchase, if that makes sense. It's just a pause that creates space between the urge and the action. Because your CFO isn't impulsive. Okay. She doesn't buy things to self soothe or for the dopamine hit or say yes out of people pleasing. She's thinking about long term you. So when you have this personified CFO in your head, on your spreadsheet, whatever it is, it gives you this long term perspective. So you start making decisions for that instead of based on the habits you might already be in. And one more example of how I use this rule, because I use ChatGPT as my money system, I literally do ask my CFO. So, for example, last year, my fiance and I were just super busy. We would get stressed about finding time to clean our apartment and then would feel frustrated because the chores would pile up and everything would get messy or dirty or whatever. So we were in this cycle, and I asked my CFO on ChatGPT, where I track all my finances, how can I afford a monthly cleaning service? And I worked with my CFO to come up with a monthly budget or to reallocate money to go to the budget to be able to hire a cleaning service once a month. But whether you use this rule strategically as a conversation with a financial expert or AI, or whether it's just an opportunity to pause and make financial decisions from a more grounded, intentional place, just get in the habit of asking your CFO, and you'll be amazed at how much more clear and easy your financial decisions become. Rule number 3 is to view every single purchase as an investment. So, traditional financial advice is to have all these different buckets. Like you have your investments and then you have your spending money, right? But I really do not view all my money separately like that. I don't have spending money that is this chunk of whatever is left over after I put all my money into the important parts that I kind of just like mindlessly spend as things come up. I don't look at it like that anymore. I invest my money into my 401k for future me. I invest money into my well being. I invest money into my joy. When we talk about money, people, of course, always value return on investments like the stock market above everything else. But there's a lot of other returns that you get from money. For example, investing in a course that helps you grow a skill you want, or booking a weekend to reset your nervous system, or even spending money on groceries to nourish yourself. Those are all investments with real life ROI. They come back to you through increased energy, momentum, alignment, joy, happiness, well being, whatever it is. So, the only thing I really consider to be spending money is when it's like an impulse buy on things that don't align with your goals or values, like buying random crap on Amazon because I'm anxious, or overspending on drinks every weekend because I'm trying to fill a void. Like these are spending because there's no return on investment. I'm just disconnected from my money. And it's not about judging the purchase. It's not like these types of purchases are investments and these types aren't. It's about understanding the intention. Like, let's say I'm deciding whether or not to go out to dinner with friends and spend money. I ask myself, would it feel like I'm spending money or investing money? And a lot of times for me, a nice dinner out with friends is an investment in my joy. It's an investment in my best life. I will get a great return on that money. I will build connection and I will have so much fun and it will energize me for days. Other times, I'm, maybe going out to dinner with certain friends just because it's Friday night and I feel like I should say yes, I'm not getting any real return on it. That's just mindless spending. So I will say no and save that money for what's worth the investment. It's the same thing with anything. Buying a latte, the classic sexist advice of just stop buying the latte. Some days when I want to purchase a latte, it feels like an investment. I walk to a coffee shop, it's the highlight of my day. I really enjoy the latte. It feels like I'm romanticizing my life. It's improving my joy. Other days when I think about it, I'm like, no, I actually only want to go buy a latte because I'm bored or because I didn't have enough joy today or because it's just a habit of every time I'm out, I want to go buy myself a little treat. That's money spent, not money invested. You see what I mean? It's not about the purchase itself, it's about the intention behind it and the return on investment. So that's the test. Make sure that everything you spend money on is an investment in your best life. If something makes your life better, easier, more peaceful, more joyful, more fun, it is an investment. If something makes you feel guilt, stress, chaos after the high wears off of the purchase, it's a cost. When you shift from consumer to investor, you are making decisions that support your vision for your life rather than making decisions that distract from it. Which kind of brings me perfectly to rule number 4, which is to take your quality of life fund seriously. What I call your quality of life fund is probably what you might have heard from financial experts as your spending money or your fun money. It's, again, like I said, the bucket where any leftover goes into after the much more important buckets are checked. And it's the money that you spend on what you quote want, not what you need. And yeah, there's a lot of truth and value to the system because you need to be paying your bills, right? You need to be paying off your debt. You need to invest in retirement as soon as you can, or else you will not be fully free. You cannot shift into using money as a tool for freedom without these basic things being met. But I hate the terminology spending money or fun money. And I really believe that this bucket should be taken seriously and prioritized as well. I think that this outdated advice is keeping us small. So many of us have internalized this idea that joy is something that we have to earn, that treating ourselves is this frivolous indulgence, that anything not strictly productive is irresponsible. And I just want to say it, that is a lie designed to keep women in burnout and guilt. Fun money is not frivolous, it is essential. In fact, if your financial plan does not include joy, pleasure, rest, you are way more likely to blow up your entire financial plan later. Restriction and guilt lead to avoidance, and that shame spiral keeps you stuck in the exact cycle that you're trying to break. You know, I talk all the time about how restriction with food leads to binging. It's typically the same thing with money, too. So, when you intentionally carve out space in your spending plan for the things that light you up, your morning matcha, going to dinner with your friends, an outfit that makes you feel amazing. You are building a financial ecosystem that actually supports the life that you want, that you feel happiest in, not just the bills that you need to pay. And by the way, I am not recommending that you blow all your money to treat yourself in the name of self-care culture. That is also a major conversation about how we are constantly marketed to believe that we need to always be buying new things in order to be worthy or to be whole or whatever. So, I'm not talking about that. Okay? I'm not talking about wellness, self-care, consumerism culture. I'm talking about using money to build a life that you don't feel the need to escape from. The money that you spend things on to make your life joyful, dinners with friends, maybe it's your daily coffee, new books, your Peacock subscription. That's mine. Thank you. All my Bravo shows that stream on Peacock. These things are not frivolous or irresponsible. If you think about it, those things are just as important for your best life possible as your retirement account and paying off debt. All of these buckets are designed to equally help you enjoy your life as much as possible. That's it. So when you plan and prioritize for joy, When you recognize this bucket as essential too, you don't feel bad about it anymore. It's just part of how you financially care for yourself. And when you really protect that space, even if it's just $25 a week, you are sending a very clear message to yourself. I matter. My joy matters. And I don't have to wait until I hit a goal or pay off debt to feel alive. You get to feel good now. And that is how you build a life that is sustainable. That's how you build a money relationship that you actually want to show up for. So, yeah, whatever you want to call it, fun money, I hate that. Your joy investment, your quality of life fund, it is sacred. Rule number 5 is going to sound maybe a little basic, but I promise to talk about it in a way that you likely have not heard before. And that is that your F off fund is non negotiable. If you can't already tell, I love when we rebrand these like boring money terms that we hear all the time to what I actually think serves us more. To not just like rebrand the names, but to completely change the way that we look at them. I have for a while called my emergency fund my F off fund, like my fuck off fund. And I will tell you why and why it matters to look at it this way. So, when I was first starting to learn about finances, the emergency fund was the least interesting part to me. And also, just like the worst part. Like, okay, you're supposed to have money set aside to cover 3 to 6 months of rent. First of all, the purpose of it, you learn, is if you lose your job or you have a medical emergency or something. Like, it's a bummer to think about. With investments, like starting a retirement account, I was like, okay, I can get behind that. Like, I'm putting money aside for Grandma Josie to live her best life or paying off debt. It's like, this is something I've already benefited from and I'm just paying for it now. But an emergency fund, you're putting aside this money every month to grow this chunk that you basically never get to touch or use unless your life goes to shit. Like, that sucks, doesn't it? And you already know it's a non negotiable and it's important to have. Like, who likes to learn about or talk about building an emergency fund? But I've thought about it a lot differently recently. I actually think that the emergency fund is really about power. It's like your energetic foundational base. Because you have this chunk of money that you have built up over time or you're working to build up, you know that you're not stuck anywhere that you don't want to be. Not in a job that drains you, not in a lease that traps you, not in a relationship that minimizes you. This fund is basically your permission slip to walk the hell away if something no longer serves you. Women have historically been taught and forced to rely on someone else, to stay in situations out of fear or because they have no money to leave. An emergency fund, what I call your F off fund. And it's funny because when I was talking to Tori in Tuesday's episode, she also mentioned an F off fund and she kind of has them separately a little bit. Like the emergency fund is for if things go wrong, an F off fund is just like having your own money, making sure that you always have your own money. I've always called my emergency fund my F off fund, like whatever. But what your emergency fund, whatever you want to call it, what it's really about is creating your own safety. And here's what's really powerful about this just having the fund, even before you ever use it, changes how you show up in the world. If you have an emergency fund, you can negotiate differently. You can say no more confidently. You don't tolerate as much bullshit because you know that if push comes to shove, you have your own back. You will be okay. So look at your F off fund, not as this like untouchable chunk of money that's just sitting in your bank account that you don't use unless something bad happens. It is a powerful security that you bought yourself. This quiet underlying freedom that you can leave anything at any time. And if you don't have an FOF fund built yet, start wherever you are. Obviously, for a lot of us, this idea of saving 3 to 6 months worth of expenses feels like borderline impossible, especially today. But this isn't about hitting a perfect number overnight. It's about building a buffer, even if that's really slowly, just a buffer that gives you a little bit of breathing room. Even having $500 in a separate account or putting $5 toward every paycheck, that's power. You just start where you are. So, whatever you call it, an emergency fund, F-off fund, whatever you want to call it, your power fund, just know this. It's not just for crisis. It's for confidence. And that makes it one of the most important money moves that you will ever make. And rule number 6 is to have what I call a CEO Monday ritual. You may have heard me talk about my weekly schedule where I give different energies to different days of the week to, I swear, like 5x my productivity, energy, and my time. If you haven't yet listened to episode 201, my exact weekly schedule that's made me 5 times more productive. But basically, Monday is what I call my CEO Mondays, where I am in boss bitch energy. I do all my meetings, I analyze data, like big picture, working on my business instead of in my business kind of vibes all day long. And on this day, I also do my weekly money check in while I'm in my boss bitch energy. Now, obviously, it does not have to be Monday for you. I like Mondays because it feels a lot more motivating to start off the week. And I like to have a better sense of where I am financially in the beginning of the week. But you can pick any day that works for you. But any financial expert will tell you to do a check in with your money every single week. The CEO Monday ritual is your 10 to 15-minute weekly meeting with yourself and with your money. It is not a budget breakdown or guilt session. It is you stepping into the CEO role of your life. So, what I like to do, like I mentioned earlier, I track my finances using ChatGPT, and I have a GPT called Josie's CFO. Thank you to my CFO that I have trained to just know my finances inside and out. They know what their role is. I've trained them. And then within that GPT, I have a project called Wealth Tracker to keep track of everything. And then I sort different chats per month. So, like January Wealth Tracker, December Wealth Tracker, February Wealth Tracker, whatever, to keep it organized into different months. And every week, I will upload my purchases. Sometimes it's like screenshots from my credit card and my checking account. And I will sort through with ChatGPT to categorize expenses and incomes. And then the last week of every month, I will have ChatGPT categorize everything so I can just copy and paste the entire month into a spreadsheet. Of course, I double check to make sure everything's correct. You never know. But this is basically where you look at where your money is coming and going from the past week, and you revisit your spending plan, not a budget. Another word I hate is budget. Budget sounds like a punishment, right? It's like rooted in restriction, like, "Oh, I can't because of my budget." A spending plan is more like a strategy. It's going back to that concept of making every dollar an employee that's working for you. You're not budgeting. It's not about cutting lattes and saving every dollar you can. A spending plan is how you choose where your money goes so it actually supports the life that you want to live. How much more fun is that? Am I right? So, your weekly check in is not about obsessing over every dollar, just to be clear. This is about building a relationship with your money, an intimate relationship with your money, because no one should know your money better than you. When you consistently have these check ins, your money stops feeling like something scary or shameful or that you want to avoid or that you have all this guilt and fear about. It starts to instead feel like something that is actually yours. It's like a business you're building, not this mess that you're avoiding. But the CEO Monday ritual is so much more than just keeping track. It's also like a strategy session. So I like to ask myself, what moved this week? What do I want to adjust? How are my goals progressing? How can I better invest this money to love my life more? What did I do this week that future me benefits from? And for me, it's also really about looking at my energy around money and my relationship to money each week. Like, I audit my limiting beliefs about my money as well. So I will check in on what income felt really easy this week, what felt heavy or underpaid, where is there clear potential, or what money situations activated anxiety or avoidance for me. I'm working through a lot of limiting beliefs and like fear around money. So I will check in like, did my money feel calm? Did it feel abundant? Did it feel triggering this week? Why? I will go through or journal affirmations and reflections like, I expect money to meet me. I act like someone whose income is expanding. I am proud of how I control my finances. And it doesn't have to be so serious or boring. Like, make it a vibe, romanticize it, light a candle, play your favorite playlist. Monday mornings, I always listen to a really motivating podcast or a money meditation. So that's the rule. Designate one day for your weekly money ritual so you know exactly what's coming in, what's going out, and then you're giving yourself time to be intentional and strategic to make your money work better for you. You're not waiting for payday, you're not dreading bills, you are not hiding from your bank app. You lead your week with intention, clarity, and confidence. That is rich girl energy. So that is my Rich Girl Playbook, 6 money habits to become the CEO of your life. If there is one thing that I hope you take away from this episode, it's that money is not just about numbers. It's actually about energy, identity, and agency. It's about who you are becoming every time you make a decision, not just about what you can afford, but who you are becoming. Whether you're managing, 6 figures or $60, your money deserves to be led with the same care, clarity, and intentionality that you bring to every other part of your life. So take these rules and make them yours. Please let me know how you liked this episode. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, please leave me a 5-star review. It is the best way to support the show. It means the world to me. It is how we continue to keep the lights on, literally. If you right now are on Spotify, let me know in the comments of this episode what you thought, like what resonated with you, what rules you want to try first, what you liked. I know I say this a lot, but knowing which episodes and what parts of the episodes you like and what resonates with you is how I know what to bring you more of. So it helps me so much make this podcast even better for you when I get any kind of feedback. If you're loving the podcast or this episode, please share it with a friend who would benefit from it, maybe your work wife. Post about it on Instagram, tag us when you're doing your CEO Monday ritual. I am so honored to have you in our community. Engage with me. Let's make this a two-way conversation. I love you all so very much, and I will talk to you next week for our insanely powerful last week of the Best Self Challenge, all about manifesting your dream life. The Gabby Bernstein is joining me in studio on Tuesday. So get ready for that. Have a wonderful weekend, my bad bitch, money queens, and I will talk to you then. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.